Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils. Yeah, I screwed this up again, guys. I'm really sorry.
It's Sunday, Sam. It's Sunday.
Yeah, I forgot to hit the audio. My bad. I'm really bad at this producing. Here, let me just cut the music. Hold on a sec. I don't even know how to do that. It's been that type of weekend, right, guys?
Time to hire an intern. Hire an intern.
Oh, there we go. That was just bothering me. It was just blasting in my ear.
It's time to hire an intern, Sam.
Well, let's do this over again. So hold on one sec.
All right. Retake.
Happy Devils Sunday! All right, cut the music. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with
That's the
Shorts
worst intro to date.
I know. Here with Shorts Guy and Beer Baron on this beautiful full moon, December 3rd, 2017, as we are here to do the Let's Go Devils podcast. Hell, we had a great podcast last Thursday, right, guys?
Fantastic.
Yeah. That was an awesome podcast. That was really long. That was the longest one we did.
Yeah, it was an endurance. It was after the big trade with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, and we had our predictions. The Devils have a big week coming up. But how did we do on our predictions? I predicted 2-1. Shorts Guy, what did you predict?
No one had it right. I predicted 3-0. I was way wrong.
But here's the thing. I did predict that Arizona debacle, didn't I? I did predict
you did
that.
predict that as a trap game.
But at the same time, I'm also thinking, that Florida game, that's a game you have to win. I mean, that's a game you have to win. And, I really think there's no reason to panic. They got the, Sammy Vatanen, on the blue line right now.
Yeah, and he got a lot of minutes in his first game on Friday.
He definitely did.
And they threw him right into the mix. It was that's what you got to do in a new guy. You got to throw him right in there, and he did well on Friday. Saturday, last night, however, I had no issue going to bed early.
Oh my God.
Especially after it was 5-0. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to bed.
At what point it's funny because this year it seems like even if it's 2-0, 3-0, you're like, whatever, you know what, they can still come back. But that game, they didn't have it. And you could tell like the guys that normally were going full speed are going like, you know, like they're skating in mud.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I don't want to use traveling west and back-to-back games in different time zones or whatever as an excuse, but they looked awfully poor, especially against an Arizona team that we should definitely beat. We definitely have that. You're right. This year it's we're down 2-3, and hey, you know what? We can still do this no matter what. But there was no. It was almost after that big stretch split save by Wedged that it was just downhill. Which was I gotta say I saw that save and I was just like, whoa, that was an awesome save.
When he stepped
gotta give the guy credit.
When he stepped in for the Devils and played a few games up in the big team, you could see the flashes of brilliance that this kid had, and it was kind of like a bummer. Like when we traded him, I almost thought he was going to be the heir apparent, and I don't know. He good for him. He had a solid game. What little shots we did take, he was there to stop them all, and it's got to kind of feel good to shut out your old team, even though it's not like he left under bad circumstances or anything else like that. But it was just a terrible.
He left
game.
under very awkward situation, being traded the day of the game that you're playing that team, having to take your gear from your locker room to the visitor locker room in your former home rink at that point. Rink that was your home rink like 15 minutes prior. But I did hear them say on the broadcast that that's got to be so odd. I mean, unless you're in the sports world, you just don't know that type of working environment. That's just got to be so weird. But they did say that on the broadcast. I think Mike Smith shut them out the night before, and here he was shutting out his former team. Two goalies shutting out their former teams 2 nights in a row. So
which drives me crazy because they get shut out the night before, and then they come in and they put up a 5 spot on Kincaid, and you could tell the way the game started out when Kincaid led up that goal within the first minute of the game, on a partial screen. And it went in, off the far post, but he just looked deflated after that first goal. And you're just like, all right, whatever. It's 1 goal. They'll be able to bounce back. And they could never sustain any pressure. They would build up some pressure. Things would go good. Their power play looked good, even though they didn't score. And then it just, bonehead mistakes. And Andy Green had 2 really rough games. Even though they won in Colorado, he had 2 really rough games. He turned the puck over for that first goal.
He's not having a good season at all. I've seen a lot of lazy play out of him. He's just this, especially as a captain, you got to be playing so much better than that. He's just not doing well. There are times he just looks slow and lazy. Coming back on D, defensive coverage, what have you. It's just, you almost have to assume that after the Henrique trade, he could be next if anyone wants to take him. Green could be next.
He might be one of the few. I think him and Zajac might have no trade clauses. I have to double check that, but yeah, no, you're totally right. At this point they can move anybody, and it was it sucked a little bit to see, Henrique scored a goal. I mean, good for him. First of all, good for him. He scored a goal right away in Anaheim, but he scores a goal the night that we get blown out. And there are some people that are like, oh my God, why did we trade away Henrique for Vatanen? And this guy's a bum and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, first of all, it's been 2 games. He hasn't had a real practice with the team. Give him a little time. And second of all, he actually played pretty damn well in both games. It was just, these defensive lapses. Even Taylor Hall after the game said that they're just soft in front of the net, and on both ends.
And it's not like it was just, and it's not like the defensive lapses were just Saturday. We've talked about almost ad nauseum at this point. the defensive game is terrible. You know, we're lucky we have the offense we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, you know, half the victories we do. You know, we're just so lacking on defense. It's incredible. And the Vatanen trade was definitely a step up. But, you know, definitely 100% agree. You got to give the guy some time to integrate into the squad, you know, with a full practice. You know, morning skates, if you've never played the game, morning skates are very I don't want to say lackadaisical, but they're just that. They're morning skates to get your legs under you, to get out there, to feel the puck. They're not practices. They're not hard skates. It's not a practice. It's a whole different situation. And getting a practice or two, you got to assume that they're not going home since they're away to Columbus on Tuesday, I believe. So you got to assume they're not going to fly to Jersey, to fly to Columbus, to fly back home. Yeah. You got to assume that they're just going straight to Columbus and they're staying there and they're going to have a full squad practice there. And he'll be integrated as the time goes on. And I believe that after the Columbus game, if I'm not mistaken, the next game isn't until Friday against Columbus again. So that's another two that they're going to have to practice. So the guy will be integrated in the squad, and he's definitely going to be our he's going to be our top four defenseman. You know, and then who do you bump out? And you know, yeah, and good for Henrique. He scored a goal in his first game. That's what you want to do as a forward, especially after a trade. You want to say, hey, you know, this is why you brought me here. I scored a goal. But you can't just, you know, you can't cry over one goal that he scored and say, oh my God, why did we trade him? You know, that's a dumb attitude to have.
It's
you know,
hitting
it's
the
like
panic button way too quick.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Devil fans are pretty good for hitting the panic button.
Yeah, so, but you know what drives me crazy is like you see a game like this, the Colorado game. They should have. It felt like they had more chances and they were skating well and things were going all right. And then yesterday, like you said, that you know, back-to-back games, which is always a killer. And then you're going from the altitude of Colorado going into Arizona. So who knows what time they actually got into Arizona, into their hotel, you know, into bed, and then waking up for the game. So I understand. Look, they're professionals. They get paid, you know, a lot of money to do this, and they're in great physical shape. But at the same time, like, that stuff wears on you. And look at how many games they've played in the month of November as well. And you can see sometimes that this starts to catch up, especially to, you know, you see a player like Andy Green, maybe not as fast as he used to be and losing a step or two. I'm kind of glad they got, you know, their asses kicked in this past game, because hopefully this is a good wake up call going into Columbus. Just getting blown out 5-0 as a good wake up call. Is like, all right, we need to step it up, and like we need to step up our game, because if they would have lost like 1-0, 2-0, you know, it's like a whatever kind of game. This could be a good thing. So try to find a silver lining of, like, you know what, you just got blown out, and hopefully this will carry over into this next game in Columbus, and they'll wake up and they'll start to play a little bit of defense there.
No, I agree. This is one of those games where where you fear going to the next practice. You know, you're afraid that the coach is gonna be like, yeah, get rid of the pucks. You don't need them. It's gonna be a bucket practice, and that's what you hope that they're gonna do, because that's what they need after that. I mean, it's no secret, and I'm sure teams around the league are looking at the Devils going, okay, good, they're high-powered offense. However, you can get past their defensemen, you know, your odds are pretty good, regardless of how well the goalies are playing. You know, the goalies only can do so much. If the defensemen are not doing their part, you know, as the goalie, you can only do so much. So they're lacking defensively, and hopefully it's just going to take Vatanen integrating in with the rest of the defensive core, and then things will change. You know, maybe him coming in is gonna show some of the guys that are here, like, oh well, we're all replaceable. And really, I hope in the locker room that Henrique leaving shows all of them that they're all replaceable, no matter who they are.
You know, Taylor Hall had a comment after the game where he was like, you know, seeing Henrique leave, it's hard. You know, he's a great part of this locker room, and, you know, a great teammate, and it just reassured that this is just a business. And you hope that's just kind of like him dealing with the emotion of like one of his buddies leaving and somebody that was a core part of that team, and not like him just being like, oh well, it's just a business, and I'm and taking some kind of weird step into that realm. Overall, I think like this next two games are huge. I think this is like going to be a real test for the team, and if they can come out of this with one or two victories in that home and home, they're going to put themselves in a really good spot. But I mean, going into this next game is going to be a huge step. Columbus is no slouch. You can't go in there and play like a lackluster game like they did in Arizona. And by the way, you go into Arizona and you play a half-ass game and then you get blown out of the building.
Oh my!
What do you think is going to happen? Look at what teams like Montreal's on its way back up. They just put a 10 spot on somebody.
Yeah, and weird thing about that, I think that may have been the anniversary of the game that Detroit put the 11 spot on Montreal. Watt historically went, and this is back, in the days of the old Montreal Forum where there was no glass behind the bench, and he walked across the bench to the GM, said, "Trade me," which sent him to Colorado, which that trade never would have happened had Colorado stayed in Quebec. So it's kind of like, an odd roundabout coming back full circle. Which I still love watching that highlight of him walking across that bench, pointing his finger, trade me. That was Wah. That was the character that was Wah. One of my younger goalies on my team had never seen, obviously because he was born after the era of the mid-90s goalies, in which there were all the different styles and all the different personalities. And I had to show him that. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is all nuts. But that's just so odd that on that day it's the reverse. It's just so crazy. But I totally agree with you. You're looking at the Metropolitan Division. You've got us with, where are the points here? 34 points. Columbus with 35. You're playing another team at the top of the table, and essentially the team that you're battling for first for. These are this is the game you should get up for. It's not necessarily a rivalry game because we don't have really a rivalry with Columbus because it's Columbus. But this is definitely a game that I'm hoping the staff is telling the team, like, hey, this is it, man. This is your this is what you need to do. You have to beat this team twice in a week. You get two victories. That's 4 points, and that, 4 points, 38. Yeah, we're 3 points ahead of them in the standings. That's awesome.
It's a huge swing. And if we lose both those games, then we're 5 points back. It's a huge deficit. And that's a huge swing. So that's what puts more pressure on this. And it's not like one of those like, hey, like a 5 point deficit is hard to make up. A 5 point deficit towards the end of the season is almost impossible. These are one of those games that you don't want to like find yourself in that 5 point hole, because then it's just like, then you're chasing the whole time and it sucks. Like when you're 2 points back, keeping pace with somebody, it's a lot easier. I wanted to kind of we have a bunch of people that are chiming in online, and John Vogel said Prout, Lovejoy, and Travis are all dinosaurs in the NHL. The Palmieri injury
saw that,
put off a Travis trade. Now, like I said before, I don't know. I'd have to check it. I don't know off the top of my head. I think Travis might have a no trade, but it's nice to think that you're getting Palmieri back right in the middle of the season. It's essentially like picking up a UFA, like right in the middle of the season. So it's kind of nice. Hopefully he can come back and go right back to form, where, maybe he's not even out as long as they expected. You get him back.
I agree.
That does make Travis a little expendable, but at the same time, Zajac, for what it's worth, is still a solid. He's still solid in his defensive game. He's still pretty solid in the faceoff circle. He's not putting up points right now, but give him a little time and hopefully he'll come around.
Yeah, he's been out and he's getting back into the swing of things. But the one thing that the trade's going to hopefully do is it's going to light that fire under the players going, okay, we are all expendable regardless. And hopefully it's going to get them all playing well. We got John Citarella is saying still think Kincaid over Snyder. I don't think any of us ever thought Kincaid over Snyder. We I definitely think that they're both reliable. And in all honesty, keeping Kincaid in a 5-0 loss, it's good. It's almost like letting in baseball a pitcher pitch through a tough situation. You've got to play these games as a goalie, and if you're going down 2, 3, 4, 5, you have to be in net for that, and you have to. It's right now. Yeah, the points can mean a lot a couple months down the road, like a point or two here and there. But these are your learning games where you see what it's like to go down 5-0, and you got to work through it. You cannot panic every single time you go down 5-0, 6-0, 4-0, whatever, what have you. You've got to play through these games, and you have to get through, you have to get the feeling of that, oh my gosh, I let all these goals in. So you don't want to do them again. I still think Snyder's our starter without a doubt. I don't think the three of us definitely do not believe that Kincaid's better than Snyder. Definitely Kincaid's a 1. Yeah, it's a 1 and a 1A, and Kincaid's definitely that 1A. But definitely got to keep Snyder in the net. But Kincaid's young. You got to have these 5-0 almost demoralizing losses to be like, yeah, I don't want to have to do that again.
And I
as a learning experience.
Yeah, and I kind of like Hines leaving him in the game. Like these big games, like in Chicago, he left him in the game, and we were fortunate enough to come back and win that game.
But you know what though?
Yeah, again.
Like just going on that. No matter how many stops Kincaid can make in that game, if your offense doesn't put it in on the other end, the goalie can't stop them and score them. So, Hines may have looked at the situation and said, you know what, this is not Kincaid. Your forwards need to score. And the goalie can only do so much. If your forwards aren't putting it in the other net, well, then, you know what, you may get a shutout. But if you can't score, a double shutout's a tie. So you can only do so much as a goalie.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. So, from the Devil's Army blog, we have a question: does Marcus Johansson's play concern you? I'd say no. Only because he's coming off of that concussion. So he's another one that
he's just coming back
acclimated. So him coming back right now, it doesn't really concern me. But I mean, at the same time, and it's a brand new team. Give him a couple games where he's actually in the lineup, and I think he'll be all right once they solidify like who's playing with who. The other question, and this is from Daniel Fisherman, if I got that right. If I didn't, sorry. How do you think Zacha's deal ultimately ends? And now that's a great question because I've said this before. When we drafted Zacha, I was so pumped. I was like, yes, this kid is. First of all, he was a Devils fan from the. I think he lived close to where Patrick Elias, or if not in the same town that Patrick Elias grew up in. Idolized Elias. Coming into the situation, the scouts all thought he was a big time player, that he had a ton of potential. I don't know if it's the lack of opportunity that he's getting, like not maybe playing with higher caliber players, or I don't know what his deal is, to be honest with you. But it's really frustrating to watch because that there's so much potential, and you feel like if they trade him away, he's gonna be one of those guys that's gonna get traded away and then just put up monster numbers. And
which the Devils have such a great history at that, and that's the last thing you want. And that's the benefit of having the farm system is, you know what, if you have to throw him down to Binghamton, put him down to Binghamton, let him get some time down there, let him play. I just think the guy needs some more time. It's a big step up coming to the NHL, and he's not producing right now like
20 or 21 years old. He's young. He's really young.
Young, yeah. He still has time to grow and time to learn. He may not hit his stride till 22, 23. So it's one of those things that I think with him, it's going to be have to be patience and let him grow, let him come into the game, and if. Growing up as a Devils fan, this is where, you got to assume that this is where he wants to be. And you also got to assume that Patrick Elias night in February, that's the game that probably he wants to be in more than anything else.
Yeah.
With Patrick, if I was if I was a goalie drafted by the Devils, I would have wanted to have been on the ice or at least dressed for the squad for Brodeur night. Growing up as with him as the as the idol player, that's the night you want to be in. So I mean, got to give the guy more time.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think there's a hesitation of him pulling the trigger and actually just taking shots. I don't know what, and you see that in young players, like even in that overtime game this earlier in the year where Nico had Hall passed a 2-on-1. Hall made a beautiful pass over to Nico. Nico just took the puck and tried to pass it right back to him instead of trying to score, and they end up losing that game. Yeah. It's just, it's a young player mentality because sometimes you think that they're going to come in here and all they're going to want to do is shoot the puck. But you kind of almost get the opposite where a lot of these kids come in and they get a little gun shy, and then sometimes they get into a groove. And there's also players that, look at Keller, who's, on Arizona. The kid was lighting the NHL on fire in the first like month and a half. He jumped out to a huge lead in rookie scoring and didn't score a goal for like a month. You know what I mean? So like these things happen. These young kids, they have their ebbs and flows. And with Zacha, I think it has a lot to do with maybe there's a confidence issue. We don't know. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors too. So, it's hard to speculate if there's if it's an on ice issue, it's an off ice issue, a conditioning issue. Maybe he has a problem with Hines. Like who knows? It's so. You just hope that the kid gets his head right and he just goes out there and starts, tickling the twine.
But you know what though? If there's a squad to be a young player around right now, it's got to be the Devils. Mm-hmm. You want to be because the whole core is young, and think of how exciting it could be as a young player to be around this team.
As they mature and grow.
And if they stick together and they stick at this pace, I mean, it could be dangerous. It's like, Edmonton the last couple of years, as even though they really weren't showing it right away, like that core can be, that core is dangerous. Mm-hmm. You want to be a part of that, and you want to be a part of a constant winner. So this is really the team you want to be around, a constant winner.
Now, Mika said on the Let's Go Devils podcast page, it might not be a good thing to for the confidence of the players or the brotherhood if there's a trade that sends a message that every player is replaceable. Yes and no. Yes, I could see where you're coming from, where maybe it's not sending a great message to the team that anybody can go at any time, but at the same time, it also makes you accountable. And I feel that, the message that Shiro is sending is not one of like, if you're not doing your job, you're out of here. I think it's one of those, look, we're putting things in place. We're building a team. We have a purpose for everything that we're doing. So there's more of a purpose of sending out a Henrique or sending out a Larson or something like that.
Yeah. If they were making more trades more often, which they're not, then yeah, that's a confidence, killer. But mm-hmm. I think it's more of a kind of like a motivating message, everyone's replaceable, but it's not like, any of the young guys that, had been benched a couple times have been traded. It's not like they're shipping out everyone that's, immediately after having a bad game. I think it's more of, first of all, it's a business, that's first and foremost. And all those guys know, because they all get a paycheck from the New Jersey Devils, and it's their job that, part of the business is if the team wants to make a move, the team can make a move. But it's not like they're shipping off every single player that has a bad game or two. They're also willing to work with the guys that are having bad games and to just, maybe bench them here and there. It's, and it's not like Henrique was having bad games and being benched, that's for sure. They saw an opportunity to make a trade, and they went with that trade. That's the business aspect of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, we understand Vatanen doesn't really solve the defensive woes of this team, but I mean, it's a step in the right direction. You can't plug it with somebody that's in the AHL because they don't have the depth and defenseman down in the farm system that's going to be able to help the situation. Now, I don't know, do you leave Lovejoy has been playing pretty well recently. He has his moments, like we said on Thursday. He has his moments where you don't know what the hell he's doing out there, but at the same time, do you leave him out there and leave Santini on the side? Because I feel like, I don't know, if it were my decision, I would put Santini back out, or rotate him in with Lovejoy, and at least give the kid a chance, because he showed some signs of some really solid play out there, and his physical game was really starting to step up too.
And this is where the coaching staff at practice every single day is going to see the team and make those decisions. And you got to think of it from the other side too. You have another defenseman coming in that's going to slot himself in, and the guys who are here now have to work a little harder, because Vatanen, if they're trading for Vatanen, he's going into the top 4. He was a number 5 defenseman in a team that had a super solid top 4.
Oh yeah.
So this guy's coming in as a top 4 defenseman. So someone's losing their job and someone's losing their spot. They have to. It's going to be a motivator for the rest of the defensive core to play well with him around, knowing that there's now one less spot for them to be on.
Yeah, Lorenzo in the Facebook group just asked, is it time to bench Andy Green, or maybe Green needs to be benched? Maybe he does. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe if,
yeah.
the next time he's out there and he has one of these bonehead plays, you just sit him on the pine. You're sitting everybody else. Even who cares if he's the captain? Maybe they'll send a stronger message to everybody else. It just like I said, the last 2 games he had some plays that you're just like, it doesn't seem typical of him. He's a very smart defenseman. To his credit, there's a lot of years that he could have easily made those U.S. Olympic teams. He could have easily made the U.S. Team in the Worlds. He's that good of a defenseman. He just I don't know. It seems like ever since Larson left, he hasn't been the same. And that's just my opinion, but ever since
he lost his other half.
Seriously, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Somebody took his other side. But I mean, like last year, he had moments where he was just god awful, and this year he's had a few of these moments, like like I said, like the last 2 games. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they need to pair him with somebody else. I don't know what it was with him and Larson that made him go out there and be a solid defenseman every game.
Yeah, and if you've never played the game, being told to sit and watch as other players are skating out in front of you, it's a motivator. And really, because the business of this game is wins, if he's not doing well, the coaching staff's got to be willing to just say, you're sitting, sorry, you're the captain and you're not performing. And that's a message that's a huge message to send. Like, sorry, even the captain can be benched. And I am all for that if that's what it needs to be, to be done.
Yeah, John Vogel, they're trying to showcase Lovejoy. That's why he's playing. You know what? If that's the case, then great. Then put him in the showcase as long as he's playing well. If he's playing well, then yeah, keep showcasing him. Keep putting him in the, out there on the ice. Sometimes you forget, like, these guys, when they go out there, it's day in and day out. If they don't have a solid game, if they make these stupid mistakes, we crucify them. But I mean, you have to look at their whole play as everything that they do over a large span of time. That's why it makes you crazy when they make these bonehead plays. But to be honest with you, like the thing that they need to do is, like Taylor Hall said, they're way too soft in front of their own goal. They're way too soft in front of their in the opposing goal. They need to start realizing, stop trying to make these really fancy passes and just put the puck on net and just grind out some of these dirty goals. Like the goals that Boyle's been scoring are the type of goals that we need.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to have these beautiful, come in and just put one top corners and, bar down it or whatever. But it just, I don't know, man.
That almost sounds word for word exactly what I told my high school team last night. I told him the almost that same damn speech. Like it doesn't need to be pretty. That the goal that you may score upper corner bar down counts just as much as the goal that takes 15 whacks to put it past the goalie. It all counts the same on the scoreboard. It's all
really does.
it's all a goal. And it's the all the highlight reels always show the the hot goal and playing video games is always like it's just put the goal in, just put the puck in the net. It counts all the same. Just score. And I have to say this before we move on. Whenever I think of Lovejoy, I immediately think of The Simpsons.
Oh, of course, you have to. You have to.
Even when he was on the Penguins. Even when he's on the Penguins, I heard the name Lovejoy, and I just think Reverend Lovejoy. That's all that I think about. I had to say that before we really moved on past Lovejoy. I had to say that.
It's funny because so Michael Gallo Jr. brings up a great point. These are kids. It's a very young team. And, you just have to kind of give them some time. He says, like, the whole team needs time. They're all kids. Wait a year or two, and the future will, we are the future of the league. I agree 100%. Yeah. One might say that this team is kind of overachieving right now. They're in a great spot, and we're totally being spoiled. And sometimes we're, I look in the mirror and I'm like, what am I talking about? Like, you get upset about a game if they get blown out. But I mean, at the same time, they're so damn young. It's like watching like the Yankees. It was the same thing. They way overachieved, and I feel like the same thing. I feel like they're overachieving, but at the same time they can sustain it. And I feel like the move of getting Vatanen will help them sustain it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just think about how bad we were last year and the year before, and now all of a sudden we're winning, and everyone's complaining that I don't want to say everyone's complaining.
Nobody's ever happy.
All of us, yeah, right. We run into a couple of roadblocks, and it's like, oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. Compared to where we were last year, man, I'll take this team and these little stumbling blocks over what the last 2 seasons were, because this is the most excited I've been about Devils hockey in a while. Because since 2012, man, it's been a rough go, and all of a sudden now now we have hope. We have there's a lot of good that's here, and they are absolutely overachieving. We were on no one's radar at the beginning of the season to be doing as well as we are. No. That's without a doubt. So we need to just enjoy the run we're on, and hope that we're gonna continue it. Whoa, it's Sam.
I like Sam faded in like the ghost of Christmas past.
I'm back.
Oh my God. Sam's got something good to say. What do you got, Sam?
Oh, social media is just blowing up both on Twitter and our Facebook page. It's amazing, people chiming in. If people don't know our Facebook page, it's facebook.com/Let's Go Devils podcast. We also have a Twitter account, Periscope. We're on there right now.
We're all over the place.
Let's Go Devils pod. The people chiming in on YouTube live too. I forgot about it. We were on there. We're everywhere right now.
We're all over the place. We're all over social media.
Every Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern, or when the Devils do something big. Yeah, I just got to work on my. Yeah. So I'm looking at the schedule, guys. Tuesday and Friday, back-to-back against the BJs, Columbus Blue Jackets. Metropolitan Division showdown after that bad loss against the Arizona Coyotes. I keep on thinking Phoenix. Everything is screwed up. Did you guys see I don't know if it was a Photoshop or whatever, the Devils Twitter account screwed up about the 30 NHL teams when it was really supposed to be 31? They did a post.
No, I missed that one.
29 out of 30 NHL teams, and then they just got ripped on by a lot of people.
Someone got fired after that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's some guy sitting in a cardboard box. I can't believe I missed by one.
So
right.
So I was reading some of the messages on social media, and I heard you guys talk about Lovejoy. We got to have a T-shirt, a bootleg T-shirt of Lovejoy. Can you guys make one?
It can be done. Yeah, it can be done.
I think it'd be done, right?
Yeah, we can call them.
I'd wear it.
There's there's a specific episode where Homer actually refers to him as Captain What's His Name because he can't remember his name. So we can absolutely do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to do a lot of fun things with this podcast. We have a lot of new people joining in on our Facebook Live, even the Devil's Army blog as well. This is good. It's growing. I'm pretty happy about this.
And that's what we want. We want it to grow. We want everyone to tune in every Sunday and, just really we're just three friends. Yeah, just hang out and just listen to three friends just talk about the Devils because that's what we would all do anyway, whether we were on this podcast or hanging out having a beer together. And that's what all of our listeners would do as well.
If we didn't have these cameras and all this stuff, we'd be doing a three-way conference call on our cell phones talking about
or sitting in a bar somewhere.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because
let's do a live podcast from the bar.
I know a great place, a great few places. My father-in-law owns a bar out in Rockaway, Tavern on the Rocks.
Really? He owns that?
Yeah.
Wait, is that your father-in-law you said?
Yes, it is.
All right, let's do it. We're in. We got the
inside
track.
We should do a podcast out there.
That would be great.
Let's Go Devils podcast event. Let's do a Let's Go Devils podcast event. We'll have everyone come out.
We should. There's also a really nice place right down the street from me, the Long Valley Brew Pub. That beautiful establishment. I could talk to the guys over there. I think this is a great idea. I think we should have a sit down live event. Call it come and have a beer with us.
Yeah, have a beer at the Let's Go Devils podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it.
I'm making a point.
I like that idea.
I save I save a beer for this podcast all day. I go over to the fridge and grab a nice ice cold one out, and mainly because this is totally like you guys nailed it on the head. It's just the three friends just chilling out talking about hockey. And somebody was like, I watched your podcast and it just seems like three guys just BSing about hockey. And I said, it's exactly what it is. And I said, you know what? The more you talk about it, yeah. And then we want to interact with you guys. Like, if you're listening or if you're on Facebook or Twitter, send us messages, like talk to us. We're going to try and shout you out as much as possible. And if and when we ever do a live podcast, we'll hang out with everybody and have a good time.
We're all, the three of us, we're just fans like everyone else. And I got to say, hey, Sam Martin just found out about the podcast and he said, so far so good. Keep it up, boys. So thanks, Sam. We appreciate it. We're definitely going to keep it up.
I like your name.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is a good time on our end and hopefully everyone else having good end too.
The way Beer Baron described this podcast kind of reminds me of that cheesy line. Remember when Barbara Walters started The View, that she wanted to, have 5 women, this and that. It's like, this is just 3 guys hanging out.
3 dudes.
3 guys
talking about hockey.
A couple of dudes and a couple of beers and a great hockey team to talk about.
Yeah, maybe also I don't want to hype it up so much right now, but I foresee in about a month or 2 months from now, we're going to have phone lines.
Ooh,
that's
callers.
That would be a lot of fun.
Callers. Guest callers.
Let me put these thoughts together. The Columbus games, you need to win them. However, if there's a game you absolutely need to win, it's Saturday against the Rangers. I don't want to lose against the Rangers. I never want to lose against the Rangers. It's Metro Division all the way, and then we get 2 days off, and it's LA Kings. It's like you have to beat these 3 Metro Division teams. You have to beat them.
No and you know what's the worst? It's like when in the beginning of the year, I know we were poking fun at the Rangers a lot, and just ragging on how they're playing like garbage, and it felt good to see them at the bottom of the standings. You knew that wasn't going to last. You knew they had too much talent. You knew that they would right the ship and that they were going to turn it around. As much as I hate, and I just viscerally hate the Rangers, it's still good when, the Devils, Rangers, and Islanders are all really good, because then you get that really good competition and you get the really good rivalry and those games that feel like playoff games in early December. with all that. Oh,
He came back. He came back. Sam is working when he's off camera. How about that?
Yeah, right. But with all that said, I still hope we crush him. Like, I can't stand him, and nothing
I
worse.
absolutely. And you know what? I have some really, really close friends that are, that made the unfortunate life decision to be Ranger fans.
Oh God!
But there have been nights where I've come home from the city and had to go through Penn Station after a Ranger game got out. We weren't even playing them, and all my thought was like, they're like roaches everywhere. Just hate them all. Aside from the friends of mine that I hold dear, if you're not a friend of mine and you're wearing that jersey, it's like, what? You just go away from me. I don't want to even bother with you. And then seeing all of them in mass there's only one thing worse than that. And it's another New York team that's also in blue. It's go away. I want nothing with them.
I thought it was awesome. I don't know if any of you guys caught this, but when I was watching the Colorado game, there was a huge contingent. Oh God, I can't even talk anymore. There was a lot of Devils fans at that game. I just had a Porky Pig moment. There was a lot of like Devils fans at that game when Boyle scored that goal. That whole bottom bowl was like almost, there's a huge section of Devils fans. And I was like, damn, like, why can't we travel? We can travel like that in Colorado, but we can't do that in in Long Island or
there's a lot of East Coast,
in Brooklyn or wherever the hell they are.
There's a lot of East Coast transplants in Colorado. I mean, a kid who's like a brother to me lives out that way. And he's not the only one that I know that's moved out of Colorado. If the other teams would allow us to do group tickets, I mean, we could absolutely organize some away trips to that. I mean, we do it with the New York Red Bulls all the time, and it's just such a good time. Just to go in mass to an away game is just, when you're traveling. I mean, we've done as small as like 25, and we've done as large as 1,500. To go in mass to an away game is awesome. That
would be insane. I mean,
it takes organization to do it. If you want to do it around here, it's going to take organization.
I mean, we do have a voice now.
We do have a voice. Sam, what do you got? You're back here. Sam's back on the broadcast.
I'm still trying to figure things out. The stream almost dropped, but I saved it, just like Corey Schneider. But yeah, I totally agree with you guys. This is a community that we're building here on the Let's Go Devils podcast. Just again, 3 guys, but it's really 3 guys and everybody else on Facebook Live, Periscope. Actually, the Periscope feed fell through, but it doesn't matter. Periscope. Yeah, just go to Facebook Live or YouTube Live right now. Also, I think we're going to work on our website, letsgodevils.com. Right now, it's just a generic site. We should really spruce it up at some point.
All we do is sell socks and
all right.
Old
so
sweaters.
I have to point this out, and I apologize. It's an inside joke, but Bobby Manelis just said Las Vegas away. I am down for Las Vegas away. It would be a really good time. And there's another friend of ours, Kevin Stoke, who occasionally thinks he likes to go to Las Vegas. He might, maybe he'll go, but I think a Let's Go Devils podcast away to Las Vegas. Yes.
I mean, that would be incredible.
Actually, there's going to be a lot of Devils fans going there. The Devils fan club. Did you know that they exist? I joined them last year. I joined them last year. They're pretty cool.
What do they do though?
They do trips. I know they're going to Vegas. They organized some trip to Vegas.
I know they've gone to like San Jose. They've gone to LA. They like make big road trips. Like I know a few people that were in it or could still possibly be in it. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but
I actually have spoken to Trudy. She is the Devils fan club president. She's the little lady.
She's been there forever, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's been there forever. Let me tell you something about her. Let me tell you something. Don't judge, because once I got to know her a little bit, she's a scuba diver instructor. She does all sorts of things.
She's killed a man.
Yeah, she's that. I think she, her career before she retired, she was some like big engineer at one of the biggest, I think, what, Bell Labs? I don't forgot where she said she worked. Very, very interesting person. And she organizes all these bus trips and trips across the country. And then I found out that these fan clubs are actually sanctioned by the NHL. I had no idea that they had some kind of booster club.
Because I think there's an association with the team, and there's some kind of the team like works with them at maybe finding like package deals and stuff like that. But
yeah,
no, I have to disagree. You can do it independently.
Can you?
No, you absolutely can do it independently, but you have to do work with the front office and with the front office of the visiting team. We are for the Red Bulls, for example, my group, the Viking Army, we are an independent group, and we do work in conjunction with the front office. However, we're not like they'll do stuff for us occasionally, but a lot of the organization is, as far as buses and all that is concerned, is on our end. We just have a conference call with the front office of the team that we're going to, and they give us supporter group rates. So, you don't have to get funding from the NHL or the Devils to do this. Like we could absolutely do this as long as someone is willing to work with us and to not hose us on tickets. It can be done.
Mm. I mean, even if we start locally, like I think we should do try to arrange like a mass exodus over to MSG or maybe the Barclays Center. I've still yet to go to the Barclays Center for any kind of event, and I hear it's garbage to go see a a hockey game over there.
It is, but you know what? You can get really cheap, really bougie box seats, and that's a really good time. I've done that already with the Devils Islanders about 2 years ago. We got I had like right on the ice, but friends of mine were in a bougie box seat, and we snuck up in that box. And you know what? It was we were sitting in there, watching the game from the box, and some other Islander fans were in there that we didn't know, and they looked at us and said, "Hey, what do you want to do with all these beers left over?" And I looked at them and I like jokingly was like, "Oh, let's shotgun the beers. We're in a box. Who's going to shotgun a beer?" What do we end up doing? Shotgunning beers in a luxury box in the Barclays Center.
See, that's the only way you can enjoy a luxury box.
Shorts guy.
You can't go in there wearing a shirt and tie and you look like a real douche. You got to go in there and like really let your hair down and show the higher ups what it's like to party in the upstairs.
Yeah, but you can go in there dressed like a douche and show them also what it's like to party.
Nothing like shotgun a beer in a tuxedo.
Oh, absolutely! I would do it in a heartbeat.
Shorts guy, were you ever
100%.
with us? Were you ever with us when we went to Madison Square Garden when I went into the Marty Brodeur gear?
No, I was never. I regret missing those games, but no, I was not there.
Beer Baron, did you ever hear about that story?
I've heard it, but it's been a while, so regale us.
All right.
Tell us the story, Sam.
It took a lot of planning. It took a lot of planning to pull it off.
You also had some big, scary-looking individuals as bodyguards.
It was back in 2006. 2006, I think probably about 40 of us went to Madison Square Garden in anticipation of me trying to wear my Martin Brodeur goalie gear. Did I bring the stick too? I don't remember. I have to look at the pictures.
You still have my, half of that stuff that you wear is mine.
Yeah, I know. I'm just long-term leasing it, right? So
yeah, long-term leasing.
So this is a story. So I parked somewhere nearby and I put on the goalie gear, and the first place we went to was the Blarney Rock. I think on 34th Street. It was one of those bars we pranked after the Devils won Game 6 in 2012. So I get to the bar, right? And everyone's like, boo, boo, boo. But there were all of our friends, Devils fans. I think it was probably 70% Devils fans and 30% Ranger fans, believe it or not. And I remember one guy, Hoboken, and then he walked out because there was just so many Devils fans there. And I remember getting up on the bar stool.
Intercast at a sitcom.
Yeah,
I
right.
remember getting on a bar stool, let's go Devils. Now, how was I able to pull it off? Now, this is the older MSG, before the renovation, before they opened up the asbestos, inside MSG. How did I, fit in that seat? Well, I'm not ashamed because he was a good friend. You remember Mesmer?
Yes.
Yeah, he obviously handicapped in a wheelchair. Well, he got us 4 wheelchair accessible seats at Madison Square Garden. So we actually sat down. I wouldn't say at the glass, but probably lower level. But we were on the concourse, which is probably the worst spot to be wearing a Marty Brodeur gear, sitting in those fold up seats. And some of these Ranger fans were just mouthing off most horrific, sister-in-law jokes. And of course I would respond back, no, it was ex-fiance, that kind of thing. But and then a few Ranger fans, they muttered, hey, it takes a lot of balls to do that. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I got to give you credit. So I got a little bit of that, right? But it got ugly. The Devils won 7-3. It got ugly at the end of the game. So first wave, we had all strategic plannings. The Giants were playing the Eagles that day, so we knew that the crowd would be a little bit thinner of Ranger fans because a lot of people would be at Giants Stadium. The first wave came about 8-10 of our good friends. I think they threw like 4 or 5 beer cups at us, and then punches were thrown, and then suddenly I gotta go. So now I'm just alone with intern Rob and me.
Intern Rob
and me, and I think some other person. And then the second wave came in to take me out, and guess who I meet in the tunnel or in the hallway? Alex Brooks. Remember Alex Brooks? He was a defenseman back in. All of a sudden, I just randomly see this guy. He's like, "Hey, does Marty know that you're here?" And then I took a picture with him, pouring popcorn over my head. I gotta find those photos, right?
You got to make them for graphics for the next podcast if you can find them.
Yeah, and then of course I took a picture. The scoreboard, the big Premio sausage advertisement, because back then, Premio sausage was the official sausage of Jamie Langenbrunner during the lockout.
Yes, it was.
Remember that short guy? Yeah.
Yep, and Wolverine still has the sausage.
Yeah. So walking out, the professional ushers of Madison Square Garden said, "Sir, you don't want to go out the escalators, do you?" And I was like, "Why? Am I in trouble?" It's like, "Oh no, you could take the elevator home." I was like, "Oh, all right." So I'm marching like that elevator. As soon as I got out, and I got out to like 30, was it? I forgot. It was the 33rd Street. As soon as I got out of that door, I got hounded by at least 100 Japanese tourists that just happened to be right there taking pictures in front of like Madison Square Garden. And suddenly everybody wanted a picture with me right out after the Devils just beat the Rangers. Like, I think Gianta may have had a hat trick that game, Brian Gianta. And here I am taking pictures, and every single Ranger fan coming out with throwing stuff. Yeah. And then I had to somehow make it through the taxi cabs. And I think I jaywalked on 34th Street, walked a couple blocks, hit the parking garage, got undressed, and then I just got out of there. That was my 2006 venture to Madison Square Garden. So getting back to
awesome.
our Let's Go Devils group, because we have a Let's Go Devils group. Maybe we should organize one of these away trips. Yeah, we'll have to figure a way to get tickets.
A party bus. Maybe we get a party bus. Do a live podcast on the party bus on the way to the game. I know the logistics of that would be a nightmare, but
we'll have to get an attorney to sponsor us so we can write that little waiver disclosure. That kind of thing before anybody gets on that party bus.
I cannot be responsible if I've had a few. That kind of disclosure you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. Just can't sue us.
I'm all for this. I am all for this. I've taken some pretty epic road trips on a bus for sporting events.
Yep.
Mostly soccer. I am all for party buses to an away game. We can do party bus to Philly.
You know,
That's a decent
that's
trip.
probably one of the nice trip. It's a good depending on where we meet up, could be a good hour drive. It'd be a nice solid. We do a 45-minute podcast on a bus with a bunch of lunatics. It'd be pretty sweet. Going to Philadelphia, and hey, they're good and terrible right now, so I'm pretty sure we can find some decent seats. I gotta say, I feel bad because I know I was talking to my cousin who was watching the podcast, and he goes, you guys constantly look down. I said, yeah, well, I'm looking down at my phone to check the feed, to check the Facebook feed to see who's commenting, and that way we can kind of keep in touch with the fans and all that kind of jazz. He goes, sometimes it looks like you have one of those pestering girlfriends or wives that's constantly bugging you and you can't get away from your phone. I'm like, no.
Hey, you know what?
We're checking in. We're checking in to see what everybody's saying.
I've got my boy Jojo. My boy Jojo, Javon Johnson, says away days are the best days, and that is the truest statement that I know. Away days are the best days. If you haven't done an away day for something, you got to do it. They are the best days. So we got to organize an away day.
It's really that us against the world mentality, right? You
want to know what?
You get in that
we could
primitive mentality.
You know what? And we live in the greatest geographical area for sports for away days, because we have so many options to go to. We can go to Boston. We can go to New York. We can go to Long Island, which is really Brooklyn. Sorry. We can go to Philly. We can go to DC. I mean, even Pittsburgh's not really out of the question.
Pittsburgh.
We've got so many options that we can do. We have options. You know what? In all reality, if everyone had a passport, Montreal's not out of the equation. Buffalo's not out of the equation. That's a great
place. Montreal.
Toronto's not out of the equation. We have a lot of places we can go to. So if we can organize an away trip,
do a GoFundMe page. We should do a GoFundMe page that is just send the podcast on the road and have a contest where we have X amount of seats available. Bring the people with us on this trip. Go to Montreal, because I think that would be insane to go to Montreal.
Oh,
you have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
I mean, just to be in the Bell Center, first of all, I have friends that have been to the Bell Center, who've seen the Devils Canadians game in the Bell Center, and they said it was one of the most intense regular season games they've ever been to. It's a whole different atmosphere. I would love to go to Toronto and stop by the Hall of Fame. That's, one of the few things that's on my bucket list that I want to do is make it out to the Hall of Fame and see a game in Toronto, which would be pretty awesome to do now, considering, Toronto's kind of very similar to how we are, and with all the high flying talent that they have. But you know what? We got to make this happen. There's got to be a way we can make this happen.
Let's do a Devils away game. I'm in.
So Robert said Columbus with a couple question marks. Have you ever been to Ohio?
Yes. I've done Columbus away with the Red Bulls. With the Red Bulls. It was a 30-hour trip from start to finish. We left at midnight, Saturday and Sunday midnight. We got there at 10 a.m., drinking the whole way, partied and tailgated in the parking lot, went to the match. They were trying to get rid of beers, half-price beers all game. And then got back on the bus and came home. We got back home at 7:30, somewhere between 7 and 7:30 a.m. Monday morning. And I just remember getting back to Red Bull Arena, cracking a beer, going, well, I'm not going to work today, and just started drinking again. It was, Columbus on a bus. It's insane. And definitely JoJo, Bobby, I know they're listening and watching. They can agree. It's a trip. It can be done.
Or maybe we'll go to Binghamton too.
Hey, my brother lives 45 minutes north of Binghamton, and I've got some friends that are up there in Binghamton from the Red Bulls games that want me to go up there. So I'm down for going to a Binghamton game. We can even do Scranton against the Devils. So we have, again, geographic area. We have so many options. We can do so many things.
There's something I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know what kind of like maybe spur this thought. I think I was listening to Mike Francesa, which I know your feelings about him, but I was listening to him the other day, and Gary Bettman came on, and they were talking to state of the NHL and blah blah blah, and the outdoor game, which why they have to keep having the same teams over and over again is beyond me, but whatever, that's besides the point. He said the Islanders, and he said, oh, the Islanders are trying to do this this whole thing in Belmont Park and get this new arena built, and the guy that bought the Islanders is all about keeping them in New York and backup plan. And Bettman was like, no, not really, not like this is they're putting all their chips into the middle and kind of like going all in on this. Let's say that the Islanders don't stay in New York. Let's say everything falls through and they move to Seattle, or they move to Quebec, or they move somewhere. Just I don't know what made me think of this. What do you think happens to all those Islander fans? Do you think they become inherent Devils fans?
I think only on the basis of they hate the Rangers. That's it. Only because they hate the Rangers.
Some will follow the team. Some will follow the team wherever they go.
Yeah.
Some will just not watch hockey at all. And then there's going to be that de facto group that's going to go somewhere. And I know, like, I don't like the Islanders, but I never hated them nearly as much as I hate the Flyers and the Rangers. Which is, the next time we have a podcast, I'll have to bring up the story of how I ended up getting hammered drunk with half the Philadelphia Flyers on a New Year's Eve one year at a club.
Yes, I want to hear that story.
It was when Danny Briere was on the team, and Jeff Carter and Martin Biron was their starting goalie. I think it was 06 or 07. I'll just give you the short and skinny of the story, and then I'll get into detail another day. But I was at a club. It was New Year's Eve. When I was walking up the stairs to go outside to get some fresh air, and as I was walking up the stairs, Danny Briere is walking down, and I turn my head and I go, "Hey, you're Danny Briere," and he goes, "Yeah, I am." And I go, "All right, cool. I'll see you later." So I go up there, and I go outside and do my thing, and half the team ended up going downstairs, and the VIP section was only it was a roped off little section that was on a little platform. It wasn't even like in a back room. It was like in the middle of this club. And I knew the owners of the club and all the bouncers, and was friendly with everybody there. And I came back downstairs. I was just hanging out. And as I was kind of like hanging near the VIP section, Jeff Carter leaned over and he goes, "Hey, can you get us a bunch of shots?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I walked over with a tray of shots and brought them over to the Flyers, and they're all doing a bunch of shots, and I'm doing shots with them, and everybody's going crazy, and we're having a great time. And they're like, "Oh, thanks, man." All right, come up in the VIP, and I'm hanging out in the VIP, and I'm drinking beers. And one of them goes, "So are you a Flyer fan?" And I go, "No, I effing hate you guys, but I'm not going to pass this up." And I ended up hanging out with them for a little while. And as much as I hated the Flyers, and I hate the Flyers, I have to say that they were some of the coolest guys I've ever hung out with. And a couple years later, when the Kings beat the Devils in the Cup, my family, we get a shore house down in Seattle City. So we're down in Seattle City. I go to this bar. I walk in, and who's sitting there but Jeff Carter? And,
that's awesome.
I'm walking past him, and he goes, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Which I couldn't believe he remembered who I was. I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing, buddy? But whatever." And I was like, "Congratulations." And he goes, "Yeah, don't forget. I remember you're a Devils fan, so that one hurt. Must have hurt that much worse." And I was like, "Oh, F you." But, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun.
That's still so cool. Oh, there's the music.
Oh no.
Oh, the music. Where's Sam? Oh wait, it went off. Does Sam not always? Oh wait, there it is. So, all right. What do you think this week? What do you think? Prediction for this week, Beer Baron. What do you think? Well, alone here. I'm hoping for 3-0. Beer Baron, you back?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell just happened.
I don't know either. All right, what's your prediction for this week?
For this week, I'm gonna say Hart says 3-0, Brain says 2-1.
All right, yeah, I gotta agree. I was gonna say the same thing. Hearts is 3-0. I want 3-0, but 2-1, and one of those two victories is gonna be against the Rangers. It's got to be.
Damn straight.
So it really needs to be. So, there's Sam again. Sam's coming in for the end.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties.
That's all right. It happened at the end.
It did. Sam, your prediction for this week, real quick.
1-1 with the BJs, beat the Rangers on Saturday.
All right, I'm down. All right, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Hold on a sec, guys. Just trying to figure it.
Come
My
on,
board is all
Sam.
messed up. My board's all messed up. Give me a minute.
Sam, it's episode 9.
Just a couple of guys drinking some beer.
Just a couple guys.
No pressure.
I'm out of beer.
I know. I finished mine.
Empty. I can't get up during the podcast. I got to start having a cooler at my feet for the podcast.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I try to do something different every week, too. So this week was Back in Black. Next week, it's going to be something different.
Sweet.
Oh, we want to thank all the viewers that watched the Let's Go Devils podcast, episode 9. We'll be back every Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern. Shorts Guy, Beer Baron, it was a pleasure.
As always, man.
Till next time, let's go Devils.